Welcome to This Explainer. Honestly, making a movie shouldn't really be possible. When you think about it, it requires aligning hundreds of artists, millions of dollars, and staggering logistics into one single cohesive vision. It's like building a giant architectural marvel from scratch. So today, we're dissecting the exact five-stage framework that turns a raw script into the final cinematic experience you see on screen.
All right, so here is our roadmap. We'll be moving sequentially right through development, pre-production, production, post-production, and finally, distribution and marketing. Let's dive in.
Stage 1. Development. Drafting the blueprint.
Every single film you've ever seen is born right here. It scales up from just a raw idea, to a punchy logline, to a synopsis, and then, finally, a screenplay. And I've got to tell you, this phase is brutally iterative. A screenplay, often written in software like Final Draft, usually undergoes 20 to 30 grueling revisions. Because, well, changing a word on paper is totally free, but changing a scene on set, that costs millions.
Now, to get investors to actually open their checkbooks, you need a flawless logline. Take this example. A struggling musician must overcome his fear of failure before losing his final chance to perform. Boom! You are literally forcing a sprawling 2-hour emotional journey into one punchy sentence to hook a studio. If you can't pitch that core conflict instantly, the movie just doesn't get made.
So, development officially wraps up when you lock in some concrete deliverables. A polished script, a budget estimate, a pitch deck, your business proposal, and an initial schedule. These aren't just paperwork, they are the literal keys to the vault. It gives a real sense of accomplishment because only when these are finalized can a producer start spending real money.
Moving right along to Stage 2, pre-production, gathering the crew and materials.
This is where meticulous planning saves the movie and saves an immense amount of cash later. What's really fascinating is how the industry standard splits the budget. Notice how the creative leads, your director, actors, and writer, they're what we call above the line. Meanwhile, the physical execution, the massive crew, the equipment, the sets, sits below the line. It fundamentally separates the creative vision from the physical construction costs.
To actually execute that vision, directors rely heavily on storyboarding. And they aren't just sketching out pretty pictures here, they're calculating every single frame. A detailed shot list might specifically dictate shot 12, medium shot, 50mm lens, pan left. By the time they arrive on set, there's absolutely zero guesswork.
Okay, so once these crucial deliverables are locked, the final budget, the shooting schedule, storyboards, shot lists, the daily call sheets, and those all-important location permits, the prep work is completely done. Our blueprint and materials are ready, and we're finally prepared to step into the beautiful chaos of actual filming. Buckle up, because now we hit Stage 3, production, the physical construction.
This is principal photography, folks, the most expensive, intense, and high-stakes phase of the whole journey where the magic is actually captured. Pulling this off requires a highly specialized, massive machine of a crew. Everyone has a hyper-specific role. You've got gaffers executing the lighting, grips pushing the dollies and moving cranes, the DIT handling the digital files, and critically, the script supervisor. They're the ones ensuring a glass of water sits in the exact same spot across 50 takes so the continuity doesn't fall apart later in the edit.
And at the end of each of these grueling shoot days, the director reviews what are called dailies. Basically, this is a raw, daily check of the footage to spot any problems with focus, exposure, acting, or continuity. It can be an agonizing process, but it's exactly how they constantly course-correct to ensure they actually got the shot before the crew loses access to $1 million location.
During the shoot, crews rely on a coverage cascade. They'll capture the exact same scene from an establishing wide shot down to a medium shot, a close-up, an over-the-shoulder, and an insert shot. Doing this scene over and over isn't just for variety. It's absolutely crucial to give the editor total flexibility to control the pacing and the emotion later on.
We cap off the physical shoot by generating a massive pile of raw deliverables. Terabytes of raw footage, pristine audio recordings, detailed camera reports, and production logs. The physical sets are struck, and those hard drives are shipped straight off to the digital assembly room.
Which brings us to Stage 4, post-production, interior design and polish. This is where the story finally comes together. In the digital assembly room, editors use software like Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve to literally chisel the film down. It evolves from a structural rough cut to an emotionally impactful fine cut. Ultimately, they reach what's called picture lock. At this point, no more visual edits can be made, period, because shifting even one single frame would completely misalign the expensive visual effects and audio mixing that follow.
Okay, so with the picture locked, we move to the audio side and start stacking the sound design. It's a meticulous layer-by-layer process, cleaning up the dialogue editing, doing noise reduction, adding Foley, dropping in ambient environmental noise, and finally blending it all into a massive Dolby Atmos or 5.1 surround final mix. Sound is half the cinematic experience, but it's built almost entirely in a studio.
Let's zoom in on Foley for a second, because this is just mind-blowing. Foley is artificially created sound. Most of the interactive sounds you hear in a movie, footsteps, a door slamming, punches, the rustle of a cloth jacket, they weren't actually recorded on set. They're created by Foley artists later, entirely from scratch to give you a perfectly crisp, isolated audio track.
Once we hit these final deliverables, the final master video file, the theatrical trailer, the poster, and vital accessibility features like subtitles and closed captions, our architectural marvel is completely polished. The film is officially finished and ready to be revealed to the world.
Finally, we arrive at Stage 5, distribution and marketing, opening the doors. Because, let's be real, a beautiful building is totally useless if no one ever visits it, right? Now, a film might launch at prestigious film festivals like Cannes or Sundance for the prestige, but look at OTT streaming platforms today. Studios heavily rely on streamers because they bypass the massive financial risk of traditional theatrical distribution, guaranteeing a massive global audience and immediate data analytics right out of the gate.
Wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. Looking back at this incredibly intricate 5-stage workflow we just explored, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Which stage of this journey, the fragile initial idea, the meticulous planning, the intense physical shoot, or the shaping power of the edit, do you think truly makes or breaks a movie? Next time you watch a film, see if you can spot these hidden layers of construction. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.